Hey, you guys, it's Renee with Blackberry Soul. You know, right now is a time that we need to think about comforting each other. So I'm going to do a series of comfort recipes. So the first series that I'm going to do a series of cornbread recipes. My first recipe I'm going to share with you guys today is how to make hot water cornbread. So I have to tell you the story behind it. My grandmother always made hot water cornbread. It was always the best to me in the world, as we all know. And I was talking to her one day and I said, Grandmother, when I make my hot water cornbread, it doesn't come out right. So most traditional recipes call for you to boil your water and then put your hot water in your bowl. So I was telling my grandmother, mine never comes out. It's always grainy. It doesn't flow right. It's always sticky. And my grandmother looked at me and said, baby, you make it on the stove. So I'm going to give you guys that trick and that tip from Catherine Owens about making hot water cornbread on the stove. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to have your hot water boiling. And you see I have a rapid boil here. And then you're going to take your cornmeal, which I have right here. I have to change my hands. And you're going to stir your cornmeal inside your water. You're going to do it quickly. It's going to look lumpy, but don't worry about it. And just keep stirring. It's going to thicken up. Then what you're going to do is you're going to turn your fire down to medium and you're going to stir. But it will pop. And if you need to add a little water, you can. But mine is looking really good. You're going to keep this on the stove. Next, I'm going to get a spoon and push this through here. And you're going to cook this till you get that like that clear look. I can't say the word, you guys, you know me. So here we go. Here's your cornmeal. And it's thickening up. I got my fire on low. I want it to be almost like a little ball. Then what you're going to do is you're going to add a little bit of sugar. You know, I like a little sweet. You're going to add a little bit of salt. About a teaspoon of salt. And then my grandmother always added just a little dollop of butter. Just a little dollop of butter. And she just stirred that in. And you want it to be like almost where you can't even, you know, push the spoon through it. But you want that cornmeal cooked. You want to make sure the cornmeal is cooked. See that? You can always taste it. See if it's sweet enough, if it's got enough butter in it. Now, I said, but I want to add a little bit more sugar to mine. Just a little bit more sugar. And I'm going to add just a little bit more butter. Play with it. And I still got it on low. Mixing all that together. What I'm going to do is turn this off for a second. One of the other things you need to make sure is that you have a bowl. Grab a bowl. Put a little water in it. I'm coming back. And I like to just throw a little ice cubes in my water. Make sure my water is nice and cold because that ice cold water is going to give you a really crispy hot water cornbread. This is thickened up a little bit for me, and I'm going to add just a little water to this just to make it a little bit more pliable. A little bit more pliable. Add a little bit more water. And you don't want to add too much water, because once you put it in, if it's not tight enough, then when you drop it in your skillet, it'll spread apart. So you want to make sure that it stays sticky. But you can see what I'm talking about. That's your hot water cornbread. Then what I do is I grab my scooper. And this is hot. So I grab my scooper and then I wet my hands. Flatten it out. Some people make an oblong hot water cornbread. Some people make a round one. Depends on how you're feeling. I grew up on an oblong cornbread, but I'm going to make this one a round one because of my scooper. And let's see. Check my water. My oil. And there you go. There you got a hot water cornbread. Grab my scooper. Let me turn the light on here. Put my hands in the cold water. And I used a vegan butter for this recipe, so this recipe is vegan. There we go. Got my fire on. Put my hands in the cold water again. And you can't go wrong with it. If you leave it on the stove and make sure that it's sticky, you cannot go wrong with it. Taste it and see if you got enough flavor in it. You can add more butter to it. You can add sugar to it. You can add corn to it. You can add jalapenos to it. And these need to cook till they're a little brown, because they're already cooked. So you just want to cook them till they're crispy brown. I'm going to flip them in a minute. Hands in the cold water. Make sure I have a nice crispy cornbread. Flatten them out. This one out in 1 second. I'll flip that one in a minute. I'm going to serve this tonight with our vegan braised coconut kale. Remember the other day we talked about plating. Let's see. I gotta cook a little bit more on that side. Not quite. I'm going to turn my fire up a little bit.